Hey, it's your guy Tyrrell back with the InnerViews. In today's video, we're going to briefly break down how Lionel Messi's brilliance helped Barcelona overcome their issues to destroy Eibar. But when we break down the game and we do look at the board, we have Barcelona in a 4-3-3. We also see Eibar in a 4-2-3-1 that eventually dropped off into two banks of four without the ball. When we look at Barcelona and assess their attacking shape, we have Griezmann up front occupying the two center backs. We have Arturo Vidal as a surprise inclusion starting from the left-hand side, and he often adopted positions ahead of Tyrrell, but he was drifting in between Tyrrell and Burgos, looking to make darting runs into that left-hand channel. But if Vidal wasn't making darting runs in between Burgos and Tyrrell, he was just sitting on top of Tyrrell, and the same thing could be said about Messi, who didn't often shift out to the right touchline. He often kept his positioning ahead of Angel, and as that game continued, we did see him shift across the pitch. In midfield, Busquets was sitting a bit deeper, being occupied by Escalante, and then we had the midfield battle where we saw Exposito against Rakitic and Diop against Arturo. Given that Barcelona was narrow with Messi drifting central and Vidal occupying Tyrrell, that would give space for Firpo and Melo to push forward, and you would expect them to occupy and stretch that pitch. But they only really did do that when Barcelona did secure possession for large spells of that game. If not, they weren't very adventurous with their positioning, and Barcelona's main threat stemmed through the front three, specifically Messi, as expected. Messi and Griezmann did swap positions throughout that game, and there were times where we did see Messi sitting in between the center backs, and then we would see Griezmann occupying Angel. So we would have Messi in that central role in between the center backs and looking to receive the ball in between Diop and Exposito. And we did see that on several occasions where we had Quique, Rakitic, and Busquets find Messi in between the Eibar central midfielders. So with Messi in that space, you have Vidal occupying Tyrrell, you have Griezmann occupying Angel, and we often saw those two wider players often looking to make runs in behind. Griezmann tried to make darting runs in between Angel and Arbia, but Busquets on two separate occasions couldn't connect with him. The first time it being intercepted, the second time him not looking to play that pass. And in that first half, we witnessed Vidal getting into a good position by darting into that space between Tyrrell and Burgos. What we end up seeing is that we have Busquets being pressed by Enrique and Escalante, and he's able to avoid that press and slide the ball out to Arturo. Diop takes a while to step into the path of Arturo, and Arturo is able to find Firpo making a run in beyond Orellana. So Firpo gets beyond Orellana, and he ends up getting the ball ahead of Tyrrell, and that creates space for Vidal to dart in between Burgos and in between Tyrrell. So Firpo pokes that ball into left half space, and before Arbia can get across, Vidal fires a shot on goal that is saved by Dimitrovic, and then his rebound is flashed into side netting. However, Barcelona did encounter issues against Eibar in that first half, and one of them was the manner in which Eibar did look to press. When Barcelona looked to build out of the back, they had 2v1 against Enrique, and what we ended up seeing there was Escalante was stepping out into the path of Busquets, Orellana and Inui were stepping to the fullbacks, and then we had Diop and Exposito sticking to their midfield markers. So you have 2v1 in that zone with Longley and Piqué looking to push forward, and we would see Enrique step to the center back that was in possession, but for the most part, if they wanted to negate that threat, what we would end up seeing is that Escalante and Enrique would be blocking off the passing lane into Busquets. However, the other way that they could look to stop that threat was that if we did see Enrique stepping out into the path of Piqué, then we would have Orellana adopt a narrow position in between Firpo and Longley to try and block off the passing lane into Firpo and force Longley to drive into his path. So like I said, they're able to close out the wider areas. They have Escalante ensuring that Busquets can't build out of the back, and they squeeze high to block off the central midfielders from getting possession. And Barcelona in that first half struggled to bypass that press, and frankly, on the rare occasion, the only way that they could get out is when they had Messi dropping off deeper in midfield to pick up the ball, and we did see him do that on both sides of the pitch. So along with Eibar forcing Barcelona into issues building out of the back, they were able to find a threat in towards the Barcelona box down the right-hand side. Without possession, Barcelona dropped off into two banks of four with Vidal and Rakitic tasked to close down Angel and Tyrrell when they were on the ball. But on two separate occasions, we did see Tyrrell push forward to deliver dangerous crosses into the box. The first time we ended up seeing Exposito switch the ball out to Tyrrell pushing beyond Vidal, and he ended up delivering an early cross beyond Enrique running across Langlais and also across Oriana goal side of Piqué, but Oriana dummied the ball and it ended up falling into the path of Escalante, who was also goal side of Semedo, and he forced ter-Stegen into a save. Later on in that half, we saw Escalante backed into Piqué and he dropped the ball off to Oriana, and he was again able to slide the ball out into that right channel for Tyrrell pushing forward, and once again Tyrrell played an early ball towards the edge of the box where we saw Escalante running beyond Busquets, but he fired a shot over the net. And besides the goal that was ruled offside, we did see Inui get the ball switch from Oriana where he was able to cut across Semedo to fire a tame effort at ter-Stegen. So we saw the avenues in which Eibar were looking to frustrate Barcelona. They did do a very good job of ensuring that they couldn't build out of the back easily, and they did get into some good areas, and frankly they simply lacked the finish. Nonetheless, Barcelona were able to win that game in that opening half, and it all stemmed through Messi's ability to find weaknesses in Eibar's defensive shape. When we look to Messi's opening goal, it stems from a fearful throw into Busquets, and Busquets squares the ball across Escalante into the path of Rakitic, who ends up splitting the Eibar midfield for Messi. When Messi receives that ball, Griezmann is ahead of the center backs, but he makes a darting run across Arbia and Angel, so Messi can drive at the center backs and nutmeg Arbia and hold off Diop to fire his effort in beyond Dimitrovic. But just like that, we're able to see how Messi is able to bypass Eibar's defense. He's able to receive that ball in between Exposito and Diop, and then with Griezmann creating space by dragging out defenders, he's able to bypass Arbia and bamboozle Dimitrovic. Coincidentally, Messi was able to score his second goal following a similar template. We had Firpo throw the ball into the path of Busquets, and Busquets was able to hold off Enrique before playing a pass across Tyrrell into the path of Vidal ahead of Burgos. Vidal ends up dropping off the ball to Messi, who ran off Diop, and Messi is able to split in between Exposito and Burgos to break towards the box, and he runs across Arbia into left half space to beat Dimitrovic from a tight angle. But once again, it stems from the throw-in. No one closed down Busquets from that first pass, whereas when Busquets was deeper, he was closed down by Escalante. And here, with that combination play with Vidal and Messi, we see what was good with Barcelona. Vidal, if he wasn't running in behind Tyrrell, was holding off Burgos, and he dropped it off to Messi, who was getting space in between those lines to make things happen. And this time he beat three defenders on his run towards goal and beat Dimitrovic from a tight angle. And when we look to Messi's third goal, it simply stems from an Eibar breakdown. What we end up seeing here is Semedo stepping into the path of Exposito, and Exposito does play the ball back to Angel, which ignites Rakitic. So when Rakitic steps into the path of Angel, you have Messi on Arbia. But what Messi does here is that he does anticipate the pass back into Dimitrovic, and when Angel looks to clear the lines because he can't play the ball back, he clears the ball off Rakitic and it falls into the path of Messi in right half space ahead of Arbia. What we have now is a 3v1 because we have Griezmann with Burgos, and we have Vidal pushing high in towards the box with Tyrrell pushing higher. So Messi drives into the box and he pulls the ball back into Griezmann, but Griezmann's first touch is poor, and as Tyrrell does recover, he pokes the ball away from Griezmann, but he pokes it into the path of Messi, who makes no mistake and puts Barcelona up 3-0. Barcelona had another opportunity to increase their lead, and Messi was also involved in that play, and frankly, Griezmann and Busquets should have made it 4-0 for Barca heading into halftime. And then when we look into the second half, we didn't see much of a tactical shift based off the fact that the issues that Barcelona faced in that first half were overlapped, given the fact that Messi gave them a 3-goal cushion. We had Eibar Eibar looking to push and try to get back into the game. And now it became Barcelona sitting off a bit, breaking in transition. And frankly, Messi became creator. He added a fourth goal. And although Barcelona did face a few nervy moments in that second half, it was pretty much a smooth ride sailing. But when you break down that game as a whole, Messi won it in that first half. Eibar presented issues to Barcelona and disrupted them from building out of the back, and they were struggling to bypass their high press. And then Eibar also found routes to goal down that right flank, whether it be early crosses from Tyrrell, and they did get Inui to get into a 1v1 situation with Melo. Nonetheless, Barcelona's struggling didn't matter because Messi was able to find weaknesses in Eibar's defensive shape by shifting in between the lines, and the positioning of Griezmann and Vidal also played crucial there. But when you do really assess it, this wasn't based off Setien. This was based off Messi, who this week didn't play provider but ended up playing finisher, and he was able to kill off the game to ensure that Barcelona moved back to the top of the Liga table. But let me know what you guys think. Do you think Barcelona are favorites to win La Liga? And what do you think about Setien's time at Barcelona thus far? Do you think he deserves more time next season, or should Barcelona start looking for another manager? Meet me in the comments below. Don't forget I upload videos every day, and don't forget to subscribe to my channel. And once again, if you want to see more Barcelona videos, you could tune in this week as I will be breaking down their game against Napoli. And that was your daily dose of the interviews.